Alright, so today I'm going to review my Toro TimeMaster 30-inch mower. This mower has had a lot of buzz in the lawn care realm, and it is definitely a good homeowner lawnmower. It's been good to me. I put this hour meter on here after about having it for I think it was a year and a half. I put this hour meter on here, so with the hour meter I have 104.6, if this thing would focus. Yeah, 104.6. It probably has almost another 80 to 100 hours on it on top of that. So it has been a good mower, but it has definitely had some repairs done to it. Part of those are known issues of the Toro TimeMaster, and some of those are wear and tear just because of the fact that it's been used so much. So this mower has a Briggs & Stratton. This is a 2015 model, I believe. Yeah, it's a 2015 model. So it has the older style Briggs & Stratton. It says 8.5 foot-pounds of torque, 190 cc. The newer ones have a little bit of a bigger engine on there. So like I said, serial number 315 makes it a 2015, and the model number on this is 20199. So it has been great. I love the 30-inch cut on this thing. It is definitely a good mower for efficiency over a 21-inch push mower. If you compare the 30-inch cut along with the speed, the travel speed of this mower, it has definitely saved a lot of time. So this mower cost about $1,000, and you know, it's made me far more than that. So it's definitely been a good investment, but I am looking to possibly upgrade to something new this year, whether that be the new Toro TurfMaster. They came out with the heavy-duty TurfMaster model, which has a new transmission in it. I saw it at the 2018 GIE Expo, and so that is an option. And Ferris also came out with a fully hydraulic 32-inch walk-behind mower, so that will be in the running too. Not sure the price on the Ferris, but the new Toro TurfMaster, the Toro TurfMaster HD model, which I said has a bigger transmission in it, stronger transmission, which is what everyone's main complaint about this TimeMaster and the regular TurfMaster is the transmission. It does not pull up hills, but we'll get to that in a minute. So that model is going to be about $2,500 for the Toro TurfMaster HD. That's expensive. That's very expensive. So you know you're pushing. If you were to get a 36-inch, this is a grandstand, but if you were to get a 36-inch walk behind, you could be in the walk behind zone at used. You could probably find one for $2,500, $3,000. New, $4,000, $4,500. So it's something to consider. But you know, this was right at $1,000, and it's definitely served its purpose for $1,000. So some pros is it does mulch relatively well. If the grass is wet, I don't see it. If with wet fescue, it doesn't mulch as well. Tends to get bogged down a little bit, and it sticks to the base of the upper deck of the mower. It has so much vacuum that it just kind of sticks up there, and then it slowly starts creeping out, and it will actually dump grass in the lines of the grass as you're going along. So you know, let's see if I can flip this thing over. So flipping this over, basically the grass kind of just, two places I notice it packs up is it packs along here, and it right here at the tip of this, actually there's probably still some left under there, You see that little bit caked on there? It cakes on up under here, and it'll come out. It'll come out all the way to here. So when it's wet grass, it clogs up and just puts a pile, and I've had the grass this thick under here. So mulching wet grass is not so good, but dry grass, it does really good job. Really good job. And the side chute works really good for dry grass, but I do think you would probably want to do some modifications for your side chute, just because of the way that it shoots out. If you're doing wet grass, and let me grab the deflector, the chute real quick, and I'm going to put it on. Alright, so here's the chute, and the reason I say you might need to do some kind of modification, there's only so much you can do, but with it under the mower, it tends to clog up along here, because so this sticks under the mower, it clogs up under here, so you only have this much space where the airflow, and it starts to shoot out grass, and so you can see it kind of clumps up a little bit along here, but you just lift up this flap here. So that is the chute installed. It kind of uses two little prongs to hook into the chute there at the top, and the prongs are plastic. So I've hit this against a fence and broken the actual the little plastic pieces that are here. I've broken these, and so the chute doesn't hold on there anymore. And so when you're cutting tall fescue at 4 inches, the angle of this chute shoots down pretty far. So if you're cutting, when you're cutting into your, I'm trying to explain it. If you cut into a fresh pass and the tall grass is on this side, your tall fescue could be taller than this. This is probably 6 inches, 7 inches off the ground. So your tall fescue could be taller than that, and it's just shooting grass right into the grass so it can leave some clumps. But it's not super bad because it still does chop the grass really well as it comes out. But you'll notice with wet grass, it does clump up some more. So I'm not sure what's going on with this deflector chute setup, but you know, with super thick wet grass, it will actually clog up at the opening in here. So even where, let's see, I'm going to flip over the mower. You can see the space under here is relatively small. Like I said, this little thing here sticks under the mower deck, and it causes the grass to just create a huge clump here, and then the mower blade will kind of try to shoot it over here, and it just has, all it has is this little bit of space here. All it has is this little bit of space here of what, 4 inches to try to shoot a 30-inch cut full of grass out of the side. So just giving you my thoughts on the mower. I'm not trying to bash it or anything like that. Like I said, I've owned this for 3 years now, used it a ton. It has been a great mower and worth every penny for $1,000. So like I said, as a normal homeowner, you would not need to worry about that as much because you're probably not going to mow your grass when it's super wet. You can just wait. But you know, owning a lawn care business, not so much. So that's one big thing. The cut's good as long as it's dry, not so good when it's wet. As far as to the heavy duty aspects of the mower, I'm trying to show you these. See that stress fracture there? Stress fracture there. Basically what I had to do is this little pin holds the weight of the mower. You know, this mower's heavy, so it holds the weight of the mower when this piece here is angled down and you put your weight on the handle here. It's just this one single point of contact, and they do that to make it easy if you wanted to fold the handle down, but it's not as necessary with this TimeMaster, because you have the little lever there, you can just pull the lever. You know, you don't usually do this with your foot, but you can pull the lever and then it goes up into the upright position, and then you can pull the lever again and it folds all the way down. I love, love, love the adjustability of this handle. Love it. So with the TurfMaster, you don't get that. The handle is stationary. So, you know, when you push, if you get the TurfMaster, it's stuck just like this. So when I put this in my trailer, because I have a lawn care business, having the handle flipped up is how it stays. Makes it extremely easy to use. So I love the handle, but this whole situation here required me to do some modifications. So basically what I had to do was I drilled 2 holes on each side. You know, 2 here, 2 here, nut and a bolt, because this stress fracture started to get really bad. So after I did that, it hasn't moved at all. So that definitely gave it some more strength. So that's definitely an upgrade I would recommend if you're going to use it a lot. Very cheap, very simple. Just you need 4 bolts and 4 nuts. Super easy. Something I had to do recently was there are 2 pulleys under here. So the 2 pulleys that are under there, one of them, the bearings exploded and it got seized up. So I had to try to replace it. It was not easy. Turns out it's a very, you know, I knew the pulleys were a problem, but with almost 200 hours on it, I hadn't had any issue. But from what I've seen ever since I purchased this, usually at about 200 to 250 hours, one of the pulleys tends to go out. So it was right on time. Basically, the pulleys are held on by a single bolt, and the bolt is tapped into the mower deck down here, but they use a really strong metal for the bolt, but for the threaded part of the bolt, but for the head of the bolt, they use a really cheap metal. So when you're taking it off, these bolts are usually, you know, the bolts are steel, the deck is aluminum, corrosion occurs, and they seize up. If I bought one of these new, I would definitely take those 2 bolts out and I would just slather them up with anti-seize. Totally, completely, just cake them with anti-seize. So that's, I mean, I'm sure that's probably what it was, but it was to the point where instead of the head of the bolt stripping out, now this is different. This is not, the actual head of the bolt is under here, but this was my replacement option. So one of them I was able to get drilled out. The other one, not so much. So I ended up hitting it with a punch a couple of times, and eventually it actually broke the deck. So these bolts are here, and there's a washer in there. So this is a lock nut with a bolt, a washer, and the bolt goes to the other side. So they're held onto there really good now, and it's going to be easier to service if you have to replace a pulley again. So one of the pulleys exploded, the other one did not, but I went ahead and replaced both of them anyways, so we're all good to go. So other than that, a common problem I've had, not super common, but you know, if you get a little reckless with this thing, these little metal adjustment handles are not the best. So I've broken this one in the front, and I've broken the one in the back, just once after 200 hours. And you know, the back was my fault. The front, don't know what happened to it. I mean, I know what happened to it. It got bent a little bit, just don't know how. And I was trying to just bend it back up a little bit, but it did not want to bend back up. And it just totally snapped. So yeah, I mean, it bent one way, then I tried to push it back the other way. It wasn't having any part of it. So yeah, other than that, works really good. The bagging feature works really good. And yeah, I mean, you know, I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to bash it or anything like that, but it definitely has had some things go wrong. So for instance, there are bolts. There's one here. There is another bolt here. And then there's another bolt that's under here. I don't know if you can see it. There's a bolt there. They basically hold the engine on. Well, I was using the mower one day, and well, actually over time a little bit, it started doing this little knocking noise when you would first start it up, and you would go to cut it off as the idle slowed down. As the engine slowed down, it just made this horrible knocking noise. I thought the engine was blown up, but I was using it. I kept using it, and I was like, well, if it blows up, it blows up. But turns out the bolts that hold the engine on had wiggled their way out, vibrated their way out, lost one, and then when I finally lost the second one, I totally lost driving power and belt engagement, so the mower stopped working. And I was like, well, what the heck? And then I grabbed onto the engine and realized that the whole thing was loose, so I had to go find 2 new bolts, because Lord knows where the other bolts were. I had to find 2 new bolts that fit and secured the mower back down, so another thing to keep an eye on. So for commercial, you have a multitude of issues with this thing. Little stuff, just little stuff, like really the bolts for my engine came out, they came loose. Why? It was a fight. It was a fight to the death to get 2 bolts off for pulleys, but the bolts for my mower engine wiggled out on their own. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue, but if you have, please leave me a comment, because I thought it was hilarious. I was just shaking my head. I'm like, really? And then you go up to the place and you're like, you know, the mower dealership, they'll sell you the bolts, but you know, they're probably like $5 a bolt or whatever. So I just went to Home Depot, got some bolts that fit. That's why they don't look the same. They're shiny versus the dull one. The dull one is the only original bolt that was left. So little stuff like that. Plastic deflector on this TimeMaster model. If you get the TurfMaster model, it's metal. If you get the TurfMaster, you get a stationary handle, stationary, whatever you want to call this thing. Which is more heavy duty. They do say that the TurfMaster is heavier than this with the same transmission. So this mower does not do very good on hills. Just doesn't do very good on hills. If you're trying to go, sideways does great. Going down a hill, it will drag you. But if you're trying to go up a hill, you got to put some butt behind it, because the transmission doesn't have enough torque to pull it up the hill. But this personal pace feature is amazing. I love this personal pace feature. Basically, you just squeeze this thing down like this, and it kind of works. You don't have to squeeze it. Basically, you just lean into it. You lean into it, and as you go, that drives the tension for the wheels, and it paces itself to you. So definitely something I like about it. So, for instance, if you grab this, and this little blue piece is like a little stabilizer, it doesn't go anywhere. So if you grab this and you squeeze all the way down, you could jog. You can jog behind this thing. That's how fast it is. Much, much, much faster than a 21-inch push mower. But you can jog behind this 30-inch mower here. And then this little simple flap here is for the blades. So pull the little lever, you engage your blades, and, you know, boom, you're good to go. I don't like the TurfMaster as much because of the drive engagement. It has a top handle for the blades, has a bottom handle for the driving mechanism, and it's variable. If you want to vary it, you basically have to squeeze in and out. It's a little bit of a pain. I don't think I've met anyone that liked that, the way that design, but you know, to each his own. The new TurfMaster HD, they're going to put a parking brake on it. You know, it's like when you have it on your trailer, this thing just kind of free rolls everywhere. Same thing with the TurfMaster. With the HD, they're going to put a parking brake on it. And I used it at the GIE, and I talked to the guy at the GIE, and I was like, I've been using this for 30 seconds, and this parking brake has already hit my arm multiple times. I said, have y'all even tried this thing out? And he's like, oh yeah, well, we're thinking about moving it to the other side. I'm like, it's still going to hit your arm. And so I don't know. I don't have one of those yet. So, you know, not 100%, but, you know, basically what it was is it was set, the parking brake was set right off here to the side. So as your arm is on the mower, right here on the handle, and you take the mower, so I'm trying to get this on camera, your hand is on the handle, you push up like you're going to make a turn, you turn like this, well, your arm comes over here, and then it was just right there off the side, and it was just stabbing you in the arm. So, you know, one of those things to think about, but little stuff, kind of rambling. So those are my thoughts on the Toro TimeMaster. I have some videos of stuff I've done for repairs. You can check those out if you're having issues with yours. And yeah, it's been a good mower, has its issues, but for me it was worth the money. But I'm definitely looking for an upgrade to a different mower if I find the right one.